Okay, so the reason why I wanted to go second was I started to do the research on my topic, and as happens every episode, it's like, oh crap, this is big. And it got bigger and bigger
Tell me
and
about
bigger.
it.
And it got crazier. And I tried to go back and edit, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to edit this one because it's fun. And I figured out a natural point where I can split it. So
Oh,
this
are
is
you
going to be
doing a twofer?
I'm going to do a two-parter.
Wow.
So it's our first one. First two-parter. So I'm going to do the first part. This is why I wanted to go second, so I could do
Makes sense.
the first part, and then the next time I can go first, so that way it sort of feels
first, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to sort of like shift gears as much.
Nice.
So thank you.
I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah. This is okay. You'll see why I got really sidetracked. By the way, whatever, like, I don't know, however many tabs I've closed as a result of this show so far, I think I opened up like 10 times more of them just trying to figure this one out.
Oh, no. Okay. We'll have a long closing ceremony.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to try and keep it as, succinct as I can for this first part. So mine is based on an article from Popular Mechanics. It's written by Dylan Taylor Lehman, and the title of the article is "The Flood That Swallowed a City."
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I had never heard about this. I didn't know anything about this. It's sort of it's okay. So this was a big deal, and a lot of smarter people than I are, smarter about this, have written sort of books and gotten whatever. But I had never come across it. But it's got the three elements that I think make a great story: death, destruction, and dickhead rich guys.
That's been a theme for most of your stories you've chosen.
The 3Ds, yes.
The 3Ds. Yep. Death, destruction, and dickhead rich guys.
Dickhead rich guys. So the flood is the Johnstown Flood, which was referred to locally as the Great Flood of 1889, happened on Friday, May 31st, after the catastrophic failure of the South Fork Dam.
Where is this located?
In Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I've never heard about this.
I've never heard about this.
I read the list of national disasters all the time.
Yes.
Or I have.
And the death toll for this was about 2,200 people. So this was essentially like 9/11 sized in terms of how many people died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How have I never heard this?
Yeah, I don't know. I never heard about it. Thank you, Popular Mechanics.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So Johnstown, I keep calling it Jonestown, by the way, which I know is not the correct thing, but I keep reading it as Jonestown.
Also a high death toll.
High death toll, not nearly as many, but
no.
So Johnstown is this town that's built in the early 1800s, and once they discovered that it was rich in iron ore, it like started to flourish as a town. Mm-hmm. By the end of the century, it had around probably about like 20 to 30,000 inhabitants. And the main business that everyone really depended on was the local steel mill, which was the Cambria Iron Company.
Nice.
And Cambria Iron Company invested heavily in Johnstown, schools, roads, like concerts, whatever. It was basically a company town that sprung up around this iron company.
Okay.
And so for the first half of the century, there was the Pennsylvania canals, right? So these canals were crucial to this town because it connected them to the East Coast and most importantly to Pittsburgh, which was at the heart of the steel industry at the time. And of course, weather will change. There's rains, there's droughts, whatever. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's lighter. And it became a bit of an issue. So they decide that the state of Pennsylvania decides that they can't risk that these canals go dry or high or low. So they decide that they're going to build a dam to be able to control the water flows on this.
Control nature.
Yes, control nature, control how much water goes in and out, because there's also these towns that have sprung up now around this. It's not just Johnstown. There's also like little villages in the area, and it's like a big, they're transferring a lot of steel and stuff throughout this area. So about 14 miles upstream, they build what would end up becoming the South Fork Dam.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I have to just somehow shove anything about whales into this at all. Not the animal, the country. This
Okay.
area was settled by mostly Welsh immigrants, and Cambria is the Latin name for Wales. And so they
Really?
started all these they started all these steel industries and coal mining industries. They took what they knew from Wales and brought it to Pennsylvania. That's my little thing. Go, your turn. You're laughing? What you laughing about?
All comes back to whales.
I have some special interests.
There were no whales that got trapped in the canals, unfortunately. They didn't explode anywhere.
None of them exploded? Oh.
None of them exploded here, sadly, but we'll do the best that we can.
Anyway, so rivers and canals.
Rivers and canals, so they decide to build the South Fork Dam. Now, the South Fork Dam is this huge, huge undertaking. It has many stops and starts. Some people, it loses money. It makes money again. So the entire thing takes about 15 years to complete.
Whoa.
And it's finally finished in 1853.
Well, that's early. Okay.
It's early, right? Right in the halfway through the century. So it was an earth dam, and it was the largest in the world at the time, about 72 feet tall. Wow. And the dam was known as a gravity dam because of its own weight, acted as a force to secure it in its bedrock foundation and resist the outward pressure of the water it contained. I had your face as I was reading this article right now being like, I don't understand what any of this means. I don't really understand how dams work. I don't know what any of this, how this has to do. It sounds important. So I was like, okay, I need to understand what the hell any of this is. So I ended up having to open like 50 more tabs about how dams are built, how dams function, what this dam was, what caused this dam to. So, because there's a lot of context for it.
A hell of your own making.
A hell of my own making because I couldn't let it go. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to do my best to try and explain this. Obviously, disclaimer, I'm a humble artist, just a storyteller at my best. I don't really know. I don't have an engineering degree. I'm really just trying to do this as GED and simple as possible. I may or may not have done several searches in YouTube for how dams work, children's.
Explain to me like I'm 5 how dams work.
Explain to me like I'm 5. I'm not embarrassed. This is how it was.
No.
I did find one channel called Elementary Engineering, and there was this Indian guy who narrates it. Fantastic. Shout out to that guy. He did it in the simplest way possible that even, a schlub like me could understand. Now I'm an expert in earth dams. So the short version of it is earth dams are made of soil and rocks.
Okay.
So there are 3 types of soil that are used. It's pervious, semi-pervious, and impervious, which, as you can imagine...
Is that where impervious comes from?
I mean, I think impervious doesn't necessarily... I don't know if it's originating from dams. Anything can be impervious or pervious or semi-pervious. But it definitely applies here. Yeah.
Got it.
So the combination of these kinds of materials is what allows you to control the flow of water that can seep through the dam, in this case, an earth dam. So an earth dam is just made from natural materials. It's not made from they're not mixing concrete or anything like that. Right. They're just using dirt, basically dirt and rocks. Just try and keep it as simple as possible, or clay or whatever. Pervious obviously means water can get through it. Semi-pervious means some water can get through it. Impervious, no water gets through it. Again, we're going as basic as possible as we can for this. So you need a good combination of all those different materials in order to make an effective earth dam. So the best way to think about this is that a dam is like a gigantic, massive, 70-foot tall M&M.
Whales are cats. Dams are M&Ms.
Whales are cats. Dams are M&Ms. So the chocolate on the outside of the M&M, that's your pervious, right? So if you put the chocolate next to the water can get through the chocolate because it's pervious.
Right.
Now, if you have too much pervious material, the water will just sort of go through it and it won't hold it in place and it won't block anything. Eventually, it'll start poking these holes and then basically make it all sort of pointless. What you need in the center is an impervious, which I like to think of as the peanut in the middle of the peanut M&M.
Oh, we're doing peanut M&Ms. Oh,
peanut M&Ms are what you need. Oh, you don't like peanut M&Ms?
No, they're garbage.
Hater. They're my favorite. They're the ones I love. I've already lost you. Can you think of a different chocolate that you'd like to use for this?
I'm following.
Okay. Yeah. So the peanut M&M is the one that works. So what happens is if the water goes through the chocolate and hits the peanut, it can't get through the peanut. So it has to go up and around it and it sort of slows it down and then it comes back on the other side. Okay. Are you following?
Yeah. So it can go around it.
Yes.
but it
But
can't.
you need like a thing in the middle of it that stops it.
To like slow it or just stop
To
it
slow
completely?
it. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Not to completely stop, because if it's totally, because again, this is all about, you don't want to block the water completely, because the
Right.
rains are going to come and the spillway won't necessarily like provide as much of an exit for the water as you'd like it to.
Mhm.
So you kind of got to let it like seep through a little bit so that the river can continue to flow.
Got it.
Now,
Got it.
if you're going straight baller, you'll have the combination of all three, and then you'll have the semi-pervious, which I like to think of as like caramel surrounding the peanut and the chocolate around it. So
I see.
see what
No,
I'm
this
saying?
makes sense. Yes.
Right?
This is
I was
very
again-
helpful. Thank you. If you had done it with like just straight science stuff, I'd be gone.
I was
I'd
gone.
physically be here, but I would be not physically or not in my body.
I understand. I'm sorry it's M&Ms that are not your favorite, but you know,
I
we
like
try to do the best we
M&Ms.
can.
It's fine. I'm sorry.
I'm
I
sorry,
hate
I'm sorry,
everything.
peanut M&Ms. It's okay. So ideally, if you have a combination of all three, you don't necessarily put the peanut directly next to the chocolate. You have a little bit of caramel in between it, so that, you know, all these things are contributing to the water going through the dirt and the rocks and not sort of blasting all the way through and poking holes in your dam.
Got it.
And then, of course, you have your outer shell, which is the coloring in the M&M logo that also contributes to the water not wearing down the dam. Following?
Got it. I am
Okay.
following. This is so much
So-
easier to understand. Okay.
It only took me like 6 hours to figure out what all that means. I just condensed
Don't
it to
you
you as
love
much as
how-
possible.
We started a podcast to have fun, and now we write an essay every week.
We're just doing homework every week.
I think I've said that already before, but man.
Yes. So there you got your giant peanut dam, right? That's made of
Yes.
soil and dirt and rocks. So additionally, at the bottom of this dam, there's a stone culvert with iron pipes that drain water to the river. So think of this as like a base layer. It's a bunch of rocks covering a pipe, and the pipe has like a switch. So with
Okay.
those pipes, you have like a control tower nearby. You can feed the canals. So you can decide
Okay.
like, I want some water to come through, or I don't want any water to come through. So like you're sipping through a straw, you stop the straw. Following me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
These
here.
all contribute. All
I'll
contribute
stop
to
you
it.
if I don't know what's going on.
Okay, good. I don't want you to get too bored. I promise all
I'm
this
not-
will pay
I'm
off
not
at some point.
bored. I'm having fun.
Okay, good.
This is why I like this. I don't have to read anything.
Okay, good. Additionally, for this dam, they have a 98-foot wide spillway that was carved into the rock on the north side of the dam, which
Okay.
could guide the overflowing water to the river below.
Okay, so it's like one of those truck ramps.
Yes. Like when you're driving up the 5 and you have like the emergency where like the truck
Truck
goes
ramp,
up and then
yeah.
it goes up
It's
the
like-
slope so it doesn't crash into everything else. But in this case, it's wanting you to crash the water into the river. So this is in case that the
Got it.
thing overflows. So, okay, that's it. That's all you have to know about dams right now.
Okay.
So at this time, what did I say? It was 1853.
Mhm.
It takes them 15 years. They make this incredible, gigantic M&M style dam. And you'd think it's a big hit, right? It's amazing. This thing's this
Yeah.
beautiful, feat of construction. It's the biggest in the world. It's awesome. Everyone's stoked, right?
Right.
No.
No? Aw.
No. Psych. Because guess what happens in the meantime while they were spending all those years making this dam?
What?
The railroad industry explodes.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you got trains. Trains are like faster, they're sexier, they're better, they make your hair grow back,
better.
they give you abs. Suddenly your father respects you and tells you he's proud of you if you're in a train. It's
Proud of
great.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a lot of
And these
projection.
exactly. And the canals are sort of like lame and outdated now. You know, canals might as well be wearing
Right.
skinny jeans and eating Tide Pods. That ship has
How
sailed. They're not
dare
cool
you.
anymore.
I wear only skinny jeans and I only eat Tide Pods. How dare you?
You're basically a canal in 1853.
You know
Sorry
what?
to say
I'll
it.
own that. I'll own that. I own it.
Yeah. So they spent all this money and time making this gigantic dam, and it basically like doesn't matter now. And so
It's useless.
it's useless. It's this useless project that they spent all this money into, or they dumped all this money into. So it kind of goes and it sits for a little while. It's like kind of being maintained, but like not super duper. And eventually in 1857, for reasons I don't understand why they allowed this, the Pennsylvania Railroad actually buys the entire canal system. And My assumption, I don't know. I couldn't find exactly why they allowed this. I'm guessing this is like before you have like anti-competitive clauses of any kind, but the idea that the railway
Yeah.
can just buy the canal system and be like, this doesn't matter anymore, bye. But,
Yeah,
under the
that's
guise,
kind of what led to like the crash of 1880 something crash where everyone was
yeah.
just land grabbing and ruining everything.
Yes. So literally the industry buys it and is like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And pun intended,
Jeez.
the canal system is dead in the water.
Sad.
Yeah. So the dam just kind of sits there and it's like kind of maintained, but not really. It's just sort of this object of curiosity at this point. And, sometimes it floods. And when it floods, they'll just sort of, there's holes in it. They'll patch it up with straw and mud. But no one's really specifically in charge of this.
What? They're just leaving
Yeah.
it?
They're just, technically, the Pennsylvania Railroad owns it, but no one's like really, it's not like a publicly funded, upkept thing at this point. Not that
Right.
infrastructure is super taken care of now, but you know what I'm saying. And so
Nope, nothing's changed.
The locals of Johnstown sort of get used to it. And for them, it becomes like this kind of like badge of honor where they're like, oh yeah, we're from Johnstown. We're used to a little bit of flooding. Oh, you know what I mean? They're like, whatever. It wasn't uncommon for like a foot of water just to come into the town. And they're like, whatever, liberal. Sorry, they don't sell capri
who we
pants where
are.
you're from. Yeah.
They make it part of their identity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, sorry, it's not your liberal, like, coastal elitist college where you major in avocado toast and no one floods. We just have floods here, and that's how we like it. We like our towns flooded and our beer domestic. I don't know if this is actually the politics of that, but
It's a good guess, I think.
yeah. And that's just sort of easy come, easy go. That's how it is. There's floods. It happens. People take care of it. They don't take care of it. It becomes part of the identity, and time passes. And in 1875, a congressman, John Riley, he buys the dam, the lake, and the surrounding area for $2,500, and he holds on to it. Now, again, I'm not quite sure why a congressman is buying all this land from the railways. Yeah.
No,
It's very
anything
different times. Right.
You could do almost anything if you had money.
Yes.
Not that you can't anymore, but
Right. But it's just so outright. So he buys it for $2,500. And around this time, there's this local rich dickhead. His name is Benjamin Ruff.
Oh,
And he has a dream. He has a dream They always do it. They have a dream for a rich dickhead society. So a special rich dickhead club.
Pretty sure I live there right now.
That's true. You
in
do.
Silicon Valley.
It's kind of a similar thing, actually. Yes. So
Wow.
he has this plan. He wants to buy this whole shebang from Riley, and he wants to turn it into like his own version of like the Bohemian Grove and like, do ritual sacrifices or whatever. It's like a place for them to turn. I mean, I don't know about the Bohemian Grove. That's speculation, but
okay,
he wants to turn it into this place, this like summer area where him and his rich dickhead friends can all sit around and hang out and like hunt other human beings or whatever it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And Riley sells it to him, and he sells it to him for about $2,000, and he loses like $500 in the process.
Wow.
Now, Riley, like a normal person, would have been like, okay, well, I lost $500. I'll just write that off on my taxes. It's fine. I'll just deduct it from my income and count that as a loss and figure out. Riley's like, no, that's not okay. I lost money on this. I'm not fine with it. So remember that stone culvert with the iron pipes that drains water to the river that's on the bottom, like I was talking about, the straw?
Yeah.
So like in the 1800s equivalent of stealing copper wire, he's like, before the sale is done, he goes and he takes out all those pipes.
What?
And he sells it for scrap metal. Them? Yeah. He just takes them.
Oh, I have the feeling that I got when Pippin made all that noise in the mines of Moria.
Yes.
That's the feeling I have right now, where it's like, oh no.
Oh no. So
everyone's gonna die.
He takes it all for scrap metal.
I've been thinking a lot about Lord of the Rings, by the way. I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Me too. Anyway, he takes Fool of a Took, yeah. Just throw him down that well.
Fool of a Took, yeah. So he basically like steals the copper wire equivalent of the bottom of this dam, takes it and runs, makes up the cost of his money, and he sells it to Ruff.
Wow.
So around 1879, 1880, Ruff takes it over and he starts to develop the property into what will become the exclusive South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club.
Oh.
This is his rich dickhead society. And he gets to work. He's just like, listen, we're going to make all kinds of changes to this. It's going to be awesome. Because it's basically, the reservoir is connected to this. It's now a giant lake on top of this hill that's like looking over everything.
Yeah.
So there they build summer houses. They build horse stables. They build a clubhouse. And it's not enough. He keeps going.
Never enough.
It's never enough. He takes the crest of the dam. So the crest of the dam is like basically like if you have a bathtub, right? The ledge of the bathtub, that's the top of it.
Yeah.
So that the water doesn't spill out. He's like, it tapers, right? It kind of goes up like a little pyramid-y type thing. And he's like, it's not that wide for carriages. So he cuts it down. He lowers it by 2 feet so that it's wide enough to have the footpath accommodate carriages, which brings the top of the dam within 6 feet of the water.
Just because you're rich does not mean you're smart. Remember
Apparently,
that.
these guys are geniuses. These are captains of industry, right?
Wow, that is so dumb.
Yep. And it gets dumber.
Wow. Oh.
On top of that, right? On top of that, he has this lake. He has this, he's widening it for carriages and stuff. He's starting to expand it. And he's like, these are men of leisure. They're rich. They're going to want to hang out here. What if there's not enough stuff to hunt? So he's like, you know what? Let's just bring in a bunch of fish and we'll dump the fish into this lake and into this reservoir so that when people are here, they can sit and fish and have a good time. So he just dumps them in. He just, the equivalent of like basically taking like, dumps a bunch of fish into this. Yeah.
I think we're gods,
Yeah, no. I mean, these guys for their day and age, they basically were. It was like unchecked. They could do whatever they wanted.
Put whatever fish they wanted in there.
So they fill the holes. They fill that pipe area. There's no longer pipes in there that are actually draining any of the water out into the river. Okay. They start filling it with fish, and like I said, of course, the leaks and all that continue to happen. There's leaks, holes, whatever patches that need attention, and so the club laborers, they're again, as rich people do, they're like, well, I don't really want to do a good job here, so they start filling it with dirt, shale, hay, manure, and old bricks. They're barely compacting it. They're barely filling this dam up for any reason. And wow. All the work on their dam essentially starts to prevent any drainage, right? I'm not sure if you knew this, as I said earlier, but dams require drainage. It's not about stopping all the water. It's about controlling the flow of the water.
Right. You can't just block it all off.
Yeah. On top of all this, right, they filled the pipes. They filled all these like stupid holes. On top of all this, the club placed screens in front of the spillways. You know why?
Why?
Because they didn't want the fish getting out. So all of a sudden, there's like these screens in front of the spillway so that the fish don't escape. So
okay,
are they cleaning these screens? Nope, they're not cleaning the screens. It's just dirt's collecting. So it's basically like kind of like, when you go shower and then like your hairs all come down, like, the wife hair comes and gets clogged onto the screen. That's what it is.
And then you have to like pick it all out. Yeah.
Yes, but no one's cleaning it. So this thing's getting set up. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It got so bad that Daniel Morel, who has the most vicious neck beard I have ever seen in my entire life. It's literally just shaved face.
Hold on, I want to go look at it. Daniel Morel?
Yeah. He was a member of the club and the general manager of the Cambria Iron Company. So he understands a little about engineering and dam building. A little bit.
Okay. So he's slightly knowledgeable on it.
He's slightly knowledgeable about it. And he's like, dude, holy shit, what are you people doing? This is literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is going to be a disaster. A disaster. This is going to end poorly. You guys you don't understand the first thing about dams. You don't understand the first thing about controlling the flow of water. You can't do this. And Ruff is like, stop being a downer. Shut up. And he's like, no, dude, please, like, I'll pay for an inspection. I'll pay for the inspector to come. I'll even pay the money to have the proper repairs happen. I'll just pay for it. Like, don't worry about it. I don't care. This is a huge concern. I have the money. I can cover it. Ruff is like, dude, stop trying to yuck my yum. Can you just let people enjoy things? We just want to have this dam that doesn't let water get out, and we want to be able to fish in it, and we want to lower the edges of the dam, and we want to be able to ride carriages, and we don't need to hear a bunch of riffraff from some guy that used to own
from some science man.
From some science guy who thinks he's somebody.
With a neckbeard that's only on his neck.
Yeah.
Turns
They're
out.
basically like, shut up, neckbeard. Yeah, we got this covered. What do you know? Yeah.
The photo, he only has a beard on his neck. It's nowhere else on his face.
It's literally the most, it's the most unbelievable neckbeard I've ever seen.
It's really gross. Anyway. He's
disgusting.
trying to stop them, and they're like, absolutely not.
They're like, nope. And sure enough, doesn't matter, because the club is a huge hit. It's a huge hit. Ruff gets 100 families to join his stupid club. Including those of Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Mellon, and Henry Frick, to name a few. So this is literally like, again, for context of the time, this is like they build this place and then they get like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and like, Mark Zuckerberg to all be part of this like summer club where they have fake fishing and like this terrible, horrible dam that's there.
Oh, so lame.
And of course, this thing's like basically like an ivory tower above Johnstown, right? So people who work in Johnstown, like they work at a steel mill. They're not going up to this club at any point. No. So they just sit on their ivory tower and they're judging from above the city. They're like, oh, we're basically like kings of industry. We're the greatest human beings that have ever lived in the history of the universe. And the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club enjoys a quiet reign for close to a decade. They're having fun. They're fishing, they're hunting, they're doing their weird Illuminati meetings, they're sacrificing goats, they're dancing naked in front of owl statues, whatever it is that these guys are all doing at that time.
100% all of that. I'm pretty sure, actually.
Yeah, they're doing all of it.
Yeah.
And so they go about their business. Again, still within Johnstown, there are floods. Floods are happening. It's sort of like rumors start to spread where they're like, did you hear about this guy, Neckbeard? He kind of was, I heard somebody said something that Morel was like complaining about this. And they're like, maybe there's a disaster that's looming. We don't really know. Is this thing going to burst? And everyone's like, I've lived here for 20 years. So basically this goes unchecked. Everybody in Johnstown sort of gets used to it. There are rumors. They're sort of like, I don't know, maybe, whatever. Like, we're fine. Until on May 30th, 1889.
Okay.
Two storms come. No. One from the south and one from the north. And they meet in the middle of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And they have like this like battle first, right? So they're like, they're doing like they're having like a walk-off, trying to figure out who's going to establish dominance of storms.
Storms?
The storms are. And basically they decide to put their differences aside and they're like, what are we fighting for? Let's just become like a superstorm. And so these two storms converge.
Oh, no.
And become a giant storm.
Oh, no.
And a low-pressure system stalled over the state and dumped an estimated 6 to 10 inches of rain on the Conemaugh River Valley.
Just that night.
Just that night. Yeah, the first night. 10 inches of rain. 10 inches of rain that's an insane amount of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And predictably, Johnstown flooded as it has many times in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the residents are used to this, but they're all of a sudden like, dude, this is not normal. This is kind of a lot of water. This is a lot more water. Even whatever, Billy Bob's great-great-grandfather that has lived here for like 4 generations, he's never seen this much water that actually
he looks up from making cheese or whatever it is. Distributing cheese. And he's like, this is a lot of water.
It all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But nobody panics, right? Because the people of Johnstown, that's not what they're known for. They're known for keeping, cooler heads prevail.
Yes.
And they kind of laugh it off. Everyone's a little bit nervous, but they're not saying anything. And then the next day, on the 31st, back at the South Fork Dam, things started to get a little stressful. In fact, they started to get extremely stressful because at 7 a.m., starting at the beginning of the day, there's only about 2 feet between the top of the water and the top of the dam.
Wow.
And what's worse, at the top of the lake, a bunch of debris starts to collect. So if there's like a bad storm, you start to get like trees that fall over and like rocks and stuff. So these things start pooling and collecting at the top of this lake as the levels are rising. And from 7 a.m., the water starts raising every single hour until it soon became clear that something catastrophic was about to happen.
Oh, no.
And that's where I'm going to end today's tab.
No! Are you serious?
Yes.
You're ending it? Okay, that's fine.
End
that makes
there.
sense.
I wanted to do.
About it.
Yes, I was going to say you got to promise not to read it because
I won't.
We're already a little bit long on time, but I didn't want to rush through because it gets so horrific in ways that like I couldn't imagine how crazy it was going to get. So just a teaser about like what happens. It gets bad.
Unimaginably crazy. Okay.
It's horrific because of the deaths, but it's almost comical in how insane it gets. So I figured,
wow,
that should have its own thing, and I'll get into all that, and I'll get into the sort of there's like
I like this 2-parter thing.
Anyway, so yes, you got to turn to next episode to really hear about. But now you know the context for it. Now you know all the setup for what was going to lead to the failure and what happened and why the failure was going to happen.
The Fire Island of dams with way more deaths.
Yes.
It's a Fire Island? Firefest, not Fire Island.
Oh, Fire Festival?
Yeah, Fire Festival of dams, yeah.
All the residents of Johnstown, they're paying, $5 for a cup of water. There are these tents everywhere that they're really mad about.
Sandwiches with just cheese on them. It's horrible.
I'm confusing it with Woodstock, which was a similar incident. These things have happened
Woodstock
over and over again.
99, all of this is being combined into one event.
It's almost like humans keep repeating the same mistakes.
It's almost like we never learn.
Yes, weirdly enough.
No, nothing scares me more than growing up, I lived at the foot of a canyon, and there was a dam in the canyon. And I remember I was in an AP environmental science, and the teacher was like, yeah, so if there's an earthquake, here's what's going to happen, and here's what'll happen first, and here's what comes next. And he pretty much was just like, if you live here, here, and here, that dam is drowning you.
You're dead.
And I was like, oh no. So ever since then, I see the dam, and I'm like, and it's like I used to get like nightmares about it back in high school because I was like, I live in the dam zone.
I live in the damn zone.
I live in the damn zone. But yeah, he was so like flippant. He's like, and here, you'll die, and you'll die, and you'll die. And we were just like, we're 16. Anyway.
You're like, thanks.